The unseen danger, why 96% of people who starts a course don't take action. And we see it a lot, don't we? We see it quite a lot. In fact, you who are watching right now, you probably have experienced it yourself, where you pay for a course, paid for a program, and the course is good, the product is good, the instruction is good, the teacher is good, everything is good, but somehow you just somehow don't take action. Have you ever experienced that before? If you have experienced that before, comment something. Let me know how does that feel like, because I've done it before myself in the past. Sign up for courses, sign up for programs, but somehow don't really take action. The big question is why? I want you guys to think about how many programs that you have joined in the past. I would like you to reflect on what has it cost you in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of energy. Because let's put it this way, you join a program because you really want to see results, right? You want to experience the results that the program is offering, is promising. But if we just sit on it, nothing is going to happen. Losing money is not the most costly thing. In fact, money is probably the least costly among all of the resources that we have lost in that process. And I'm saying this from experience, not just because I have personally done this mistake myself, but because I've been a coach for 16 years. I have seen so many people, from clients, friends, myself, do this. And it's more than just money, and it's more than just time. It is more than just energy. It is actually trust. Trust is lost. I'm not just talking about trust to mentors in general. I'm talking about trust to ourselves. If it is the first time you invest in something, in a course or program somewhere, if you have never been burned before, if you have never experienced failure before, you'll probably say, yeah, I think I can do it. But if you have repeatedly signed up for a program and somehow don't see results, not because the program is not good, but because you yourself aren't taking action, the mind starts making meaning out of that. The mind starts to tell us stories, or rather questions like, am I really cut out for this? Am I really good enough? Can I really do this? And as you struggle to figure out why and find no answers, the meaning making becomes more and more and more. And over time, if you're not careful, that those meaning making becomes beliefs. Beliefs which stops you from going all out. It feels like your hands are tied behind your back. Even as you want to run forward and charge, something is pulling you back, not allowing you to do so. We experience this and we do not know why. Today, right here, I want to explain why. Whenever you are absorbing something, let's call it learning. Learning is not knowing, and knowing is not owning. When you are learning from someone else, when you are sitting there and you're absorbing and absorbing and absorbing, how do you actually know what they do is going to work for you? You don't. All you get is, okay, so this works for them, right? This works for them. Now, if this works for them, it might work for me too. So just learning is not a solution. And a lot of times people go into this never-ending cycle of more learning and like joining all kinds of courses because of this, because they believe that learning is the key. Like, there's something else that I don't know. I want to learn more. And that's exactly what they do. They go to courses after courses after courses that they sign up for. Some of it they finish, some of it they don't finish, but they never take action. You will only know that it works for you once action is complete. So knowing happens once the action is done. This is key. You only ever know that something works once you have put into action and you have experienced the results of that action. But there comes another trap. Just because you know that it works for you once doesn't mean that you're going to be able to replicate it. As an example, I've gone on Facebook Live for God knows how many times already, but I still stutter, I still make mistakes. Because mastery comes from repetition. It comes from consistent repetition. That means taking action again and again and again and again and again, right? Repeatedly, again and again and again and again, until you have experienced the fruition of the results that you're looking for based on your action. That is what it means to own a knowledge. Knowing is not owning. Learning is not knowing. We must learn And then we must do in order to know. And then we must do repeatedly again and again and again and again before we own a concept. So all these things about going onto never-ending courses is pointless. We need to learn some seed information and then immediately apply. And once we apply, we reflect, take a look at the results, and then we apply again, make some changes, alterations based on what we think can be improved, and we apply again and again and again and again. What prevents this cycle from happening? Which is also the key to why 96% of the time, people who sign up for courses don't take action and don't see results because they don't take action. I'm going to draw it out for you so you guys can understand what I'm talking about. So there are 3 things that prevents someone from taking action. The first thing here is resistance. What does it mean? Resistance is that feeling that you feel when you are about to do something, but you really don't like it. Maybe after an amazing conversation with a potential client, it is time for you to ask for the payment. Ask for the sale. Very basic. But maybe something internally is blocking you. You're feeling resistance towards asking for the sale. Now, this I would consider to be a level 1 scenario. Level 1. Because you're capable of feeling the resistance. Naturally, at this point in time, either one of 2 things will happen. Very rarely, someone would be able to sit and look at the resistance and just ponder and observe and watch what is going on over here. Coming from the space of joyful curiosity to try and understand what's going on. Like they want to understand the big picture, genuinely want to learn about themselves. But most of the time, people fall into the trap of trying to figure out what's wrong. Why? Why am I feeling resistance now? Why? The moment something like this happens, they start to get stuck because they're looking for one reason. Many people are looking for one reason why they are feeling resistance. Whenever you pinpoint everything to one problem, you're going to try to go and fix that problem, right? And so this is where I observe a lot of students try to solve one problem by joining one course and another problem by joining another course, and after 50 courses the problem is still there. That is incorrect. This one doesn't work. What needs to happen is when someone is sitting there and paying observation and really paying attention to what's actually going on. Like what resistance am I feeling? How am I feeling? Is it fear? Is it triggering? Does it remind you of something that happened to you before in the past? What is it exactly? What's happening here generally? Not just looking for one problem to blame, but what's happening here generally? But if this doesn't happen, the mind will start to create a meaning about this. Whether you're conscious about it or not does not matter. The mind will start to create a meaning about it. And that goes into stage 2, avoidances. The mind starts to feel so frustrated and so tired every time it tries to do this. Every time, let's say it's asking for the sale. Every time you try to do this, you get confused. You're feeling a huge amount of resistance, but you do not know exactly what the resistance is, and then you get stuck, right? So the mind does not compute, cannot compute. So what does the mind do? The mind shuts down. And over time, the mind is not even aware that it is not thinking about what needs to be thought about. It is not thinking about resistance anymore. It is not thinking about the task anymore. Every time you look at the task that you're about to do, bang, gone. Hence, people always say that they are procrastinating. They are looking at a task that needs to be done, blank. Whatever that blank is. Avoidances. That's stage 2. Now, at this point in time, people who are avoiding something, based on my observation, they're going to try to do all kinds of other things to make it seem as though they are productive. That's based on my observation on the people who are my clients. Many of them get into a stage where they're trying to find one small little thing, like unimportant, non-urgent things, and they make a big fuss about unimportant things to avoid truly tackling the truly important things in their business and in their life. And they would not realize why they do that. This is a very tough stage. Very tough. All right? So they're gonna try and they try and try. It's like every day there is some small little thing that is coming in the way. So if you've ever experienced that before in your life, like you're trying to do something, but this is coming in the way, that is coming in the way, this is coming in the way, there is some part of you that perhaps is avoiding to do what really needs to be done. These two things is very hazardous to progress based on all of the experiences that I've had with my coaching clients. What needs to happen in avoidances is more observation, more reflection. It is only through paying attention to what is happening inside, moment to moment, especially the moment when you are trying to do something and you are feeling the resistance, and then suddenly your mind feels blank, right? It's trying to cast its attention away. It is especially in that moment you need to pay even more close attention to what is happening without trying to assign and pinpoint to one thing to blame. Just paying attention, learn about yourself. And now if this does not happen, then the third stage would come. Distraction. This is when, oh, I started by wanting to write an article, but I find myself 2 hours later binge watching Netflix drama, binge watching Squid Game, rerun of The Stranger Things. I wanted to write something and I thought to myself, I need to do some research. So I go to YouTube. 3 hours later, I find myself watching cat videos and cooking shows, whatever, on YouTube. Completely irrelevant. Distractions. Why? Because the reason why the mind goes into distraction is because it is spending too much time in avoidances and it is uncomfortable to be in avoidance, right? There's a form of anxiety going on in the mind. It's like, I have to do something, I have to do something, I have to do something. Now, the moment an opportunity comes for you to do something, right? The mind is going to take it. Your mind is going to command you to do it. And it is going to justify that action by coming up with all kinds of positive logical reasons as to why you need to go on YouTube, as to why you need to take a break, as to why you need more sleep, as to why you need to hang out with some people, as to why you need to take yet another course or download yet another template or do something, scroll some website, read some novel. It's going to try to justify itself. And among these three things, distraction is the one that is most costly. Because you will find yourself going through the whole cycle of never ending round and round and round and round and round and round and round, right? To the point where you reach this point here where it's inevitable. Like there's nothing else, no more reason. You have exhausted and you have bankrupted yourself of all of the possible reasons as to why you cannot succeed. That point right there, instead of saying, okay, I have no choice, I really must go and do it right now, I must make myself successful, what tends to happen to a lot of people is that they create a meaning for themselves. I have exhausted all the reasons that I have for not being able to take action. It must mean that I am not cut out for this business thing. That's what happened. I don't know if you guys are getting something. If you guys are getting something, if you watch this far, comment something so that I know you have actually gained something from my sharing. Now, what needs to happen? How do you actually overcome this? How do you actually overcome these three things: resistance, avoidances, and distraction? A simple solution that I have found that works for myself and my clients. Simple, but it's not easy. Pay attention. Pay attention moment to moment. Pay attention on specific areas of your business, specific things, specific timelines. Pay attention to what just happened. Pay attention to what's about to happen. Pay attention to who you're speaking with. Pay attention to what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you're feeling. Pay attention. But of course, paying attention sounds very vague. Yes, I agree it's vague, which is the reason why structure is needed. Do you remember, like right now, if I don't remind you, if I didn't ask you, do you have your yearly goals in your mind? For most of you who are watching, I bet not. You probably have forgotten it sometime. Until I ask you what's your yearly goal. Oh, you have a yearly goal. Huh? Yes. How many percentage of your day-to-day time do you spend acting in congruence with the goal that you set up for yourself this year? And for most people, I'm not saying that that's you, but for most people, very few. They remember their goals at the start of the year, and then something happened. They fell into resistance. They fell into avoidance. They fell into distraction, the new course, the new car, the new problem, the new job, the new this, the new that. They forgot about the goal, isn't it? Very few people remembers and acts in congruence moment to moment. So the solution to this is structure. You need to create structures for yourself to remember what are your yearly goals, your monthly goals, your weekly goals, your daily goals. Some structure must be there for you to remember this at all times, so that you can then, in the process of trying to do it, detect what are the resistances that is coming up. What are the avoidances within you? Where are you distracted? Where are you avoiding? Where are you resisting from what needs to happen? And then, of course, I would also like to add yesterday. So keeping in mind your future goals while learning the lessons from what happened yesterday, being complete with what happens in the past, but learning and keeping the lessons from the past. This is a very important thing. I know this may sound pretty vague right now, so I'm just going to give you an example of how it works in my flagship program, Unstoppable You. The way it works is that on Sunday, we do something called Clarity Call. What happened on the Clarity Call is that every Sunday, me and my coachees, all of them, we come together, and first and foremost, we talk about what are the wins and what are the lessons that we've learned. What are the wins? What are the wins that you've experienced? As I'm sharing this, you may copy this if you want to, all right? You can completely swipe it for yourself. I don't care. I don't mind. It is just a structure, and I think it's a good structure. If you guys want to use it, go ahead and use it. First question is, what wins have you gained this week? What are the breakthroughs, right? Under the wins, there are multiple things that you can share. You can reflect to yourself what is the actual monetary gains? Like, what is the having wins that you have gained? And what are the doing wins? Doing wins meaning, what are the new actions that you've taken this past week that you have never taken before in the past? If you have done some form of, if you've always been shy to go on Facebook Live, let's say, and now because of some business necessities, you have decided to go on a Facebook Live. That's a win. That's a doing win. That's a breakthrough, right? Now, what about the being wins? Is there any beingness wins that you can share? As an example, if let's say you've always felt shy of asking for the sale, of actually asking for money at the end of a discovery call, and you finally felt okay for the first time ever. You have realized something, you have learned something that made you feel like, oh, actually, this is completely okay. I feel completely fine now. I feel great asking for money. Okay, that's a beingness win, right? So what being, doing, and having wins have you gained this week, right? So first and foremost, wins. And you have a be, do, have. And then lessons. What have you learned? Because unless you're an ultra talented person, whereby every action you take is executed flawlessly and you gain the reward from there will be something that you have learned. Lessons can either come from an external source where someone is teaching you something, like right the way I'm doing with you right now, or it can come from internal source by reflecting on past mistakes. What could you have done better? What could you have done better? Like, what lessons have you gained? That person said that this is not the right time for me to join this program. I said, okay, and let them go. I should have ended by asking, when is the right time? Oh, the other day, someone told me that this program is not right for me. And I said, okay, cool, and just let them go. Instead, I should have, or I could have, asked them, well, what would make this program perfect for you? Reflecting, it comes from reflection. So we would actually do that, like wins. We share our wins, then we share our lessons, and then after that, we actually share what is our focus of the week. What is our focus of the week? What is your focus of the week? Do you actually do this? This is very important. Like every single week, if worst comes to worst, right? In the worst case scenario, what are the specific things that you must do in your business that will move the needle for you this week? And recall, I have actually talked about this over here. And of course, you need to be very careful about the yearly goals as well. What's your yearly goal? And what is the one minimum thing that you must do every single week in order for you to attain your yearly goals? right? And of course, monthly as well. Not to forget. So from yearly, you break it down to monthly, you break it down to weekly, and then you make sure that your weekly goals are all aligned with your monthly goals, are all aligned with your yearly goals. And so every single week, you need to actually ask yourself, like, what's my main focus of this week? How many of you actually do that? If you do that, type it down. I want to know. Most people don't. Most people are just floating, right? And most people who are floating around confuse it with flowing. Well, I'm in the flow. I'm just going with it. No, you're floating. Difference between flowing and floating is two different things, okay? What's your focus? Then from here, every single one of them have expressed their wins, all right? We celebrate wins. We acquire, like, what's the lessons from the mistakes that was done. And then we have chosen a recommitment, which is the focus. Okay, this week I'm going to focus on this one. Great. Now we enact. Now we start. From here on out, Thursday, we get onto another call. It's called the implementation call. Okay. And the implementation call is number one, to review. You've said that this is what you want to accomplish on Sunday. How is it now? Don't forget, we humans forget. We get distracted. We feel resistances. We avoid certain things, especially when it's something that we don't like. So if you don't have a structure like that, very easily, sorry, I completely forgot that was a task. Life took over. How often did that happen? It happens a lot. Very often, isn't it? You don't have to take my word for it. Just reflect on your own experiences, right? What does your own experiences tell you? Okay, so review. What's the status? And then we review challenges. No challenge? Are you sure? No challenge? Have you been taking enough action? Because if you have, there might be certain challenges that has been happening. What are they? What are the challenges specifically? And we do a brainstorm. What is the one powerful question that you can ask yourself, right, about what happened? If you have not been consistent Monday to Thursday, that means something is wrong. This is an opportunity to actually pause and say, hey, I said that last Sunday, I said that the most important focus of mine this week is to create a sales page. And 4 days later, I haven't even gotten started. What happened? Ask yourself. And then we brainstorm, we workshop together. And in my own program, this is also the moment where I create Q&A. Like, what challenges have you been facing? And this is the opportunity they can ask me for feedback on their work. How many of you have someone who you can submit your work to and ask for feedback? An unbiased feedback, so that you know the quality of the work that you do. How many of you have set up that kind of? And then this is the point where we talk about here what happened in the past. And now the last bit of the structure is daily. In the daily morning calls, this is something I absolutely recommend you to do. We do journaling. So first and foremost, and in the specific journaling methodology that I personally teach, inside the journal itself, you remind yourself, what is your 1 year goal? And I do that by using something that I learned in fitness, letter from your future self. So you go to the future, you write a note back to your present self, thanking yourself of all of the certain things that you've done, and here's the results. What is your 1 year goal? It reminds you, this structure reminds you of that. And while you're journaling, setting an intention, after you have gone through the whole reflection by yourself, what happened yesterday, and then after you go through your 1 year goal, based on your whole 1 year goal, what is the one most important task that must be done, absolutely must be done today, to enable you to accomplish your weekly goals, which will then enable you to accomplish your monthly goals, which will then enable you to accomplish your 1 year goal, right? So set your intention for the day. There's a whole nother video on that, intention versus to-do list. I'm not going to go into that. Usually in our intention setting, we only set one intention, 1, 2, maximum 3 intention, not many. But this is what we do in our journaling. After the journaling is done, we meet up, we actually share. Because why? Because change happens in 4 A's. People always say, change starts from awareness, it's the start. Well, after awareness, what happens? Here's what happens. First, you must be aware. Then, if you're aware but you're not accepting that you need to change, if you're aware of a potential to change, but you don't accept the course of action, if you don't accept the need to change, then there's no change, there's no transformation. So the second A is accept, right? But more importantly, after you accept, can you acknowledge? Because turning your thoughts into words is powerful. It is something necessary. If you can't turn your thoughts into words, if you haven't articulated enough, it's not real. And then, from acknowledgement, amendment. Take the action, make the change, recommit to what you need to do in order to move the needle. This is how transformation happens. So coming back to this, share. This whole part about the goal setting, about the intention setting of the day, reflection before you set the intention, to clear off your previous day. After you reflect, being aware of what needs to change, what needs to be improved upon, turn it into words, acknowledge, share it to other people. And so we share. There's usually 3 questions that are asked. Feel about yesterday. How do you feel about yesterday? Because emotions are a radar. And if you are able to use emotion as a radar, you realize that you can learn so many things about yourself without having to pay so many teachers and coaches or healers or mentors. You will be able to be your own mentor and be your own teacher, be your own coach. How do you feel about yesterday? Then, thoughts and feelings now. What are your thoughts and feelings right now? How are you feeling right now? After you go through this powerful exercise of reflecting what happened yesterday, reminding yourself of your yearly goal, of your future intention, and then setting a commitment of what needs to be done today, right now, in this moment, how are you feeling? What are you thinking? Right? Once again, 4 A's: awareness, acceptance, acknowledgement, and amendment. And then after that, then only, what is your intention for the day? So these 3 things: number 1, the clarity call; number 2, the implementation call; and number 3, the daily calls, has been the structure that has created such a drastic transformation among all my clients. So even though they join me for business coaching, the amount of personal breakthrough that they experience is so phenomenal. If you have seen their testimonials, like, you will see people who are like super hard on themselves, they became very forgiving, very kind. People who used to be very transactional are now very popular, so human and so wholesome. Why? How did all these personality changes and beingness, identity shifts, how did it happen? I didn't go and do a one-to-one conversation with them. I mean, sometimes I do it, but that's not why it happened. I didn't go and put them through some hypnosis or whatever. I just, every single day, just these simple steps. Every day, daily calls, right? Daily calls, journal, being aware, coming into acceptance, being able to acknowledge, and then being able to make amends. If you have ever studied Alcoholics Anonymous, it is pretty much the same structure. So these 3 things, very powerful. And I want to invite you to consider something. Create a team, create a squad, create a structure that allows you to pay attention to all of the different timelines. You can adopt the Unstoppable You structure if you want to. Every week, do a call with some people, set up a mastermind by all means. Find a partner or set up a mastermind. If you are using Loom, ask your fellow Illuminatis to join you in your quest, right? Do a clarity call. Use this exact same structure. What are the wins that we have gained this week? Let's take turns to share. What are the lessons? What are the focus that we are all having for this coming week? And then on Thursday, do another check-in. Implementation call, review. Like, what's the status right now? What about you? Now, here's me. Here's the challenge that I felt while I was going through this. Ask one powerful question, throw it to the mastermind, let them reflect, let them come back to you. Do a Q&A, give feedback to each other on your work that has been done. Do that. And then every day, do a check-in, if you can. My clients are very committed. They come in every morning, right? Journal by yourselves. Remind yourself of the 1-year intention. What is your 1-year intention? And what is the one key thing that must be done today, no matter what, in order to move the needle? And then share, how do you feel about yesterday? How do you feel right now? What are your thoughts right now? And then share your intention. Once that is done, break off, right? And then go and do your work. Do this with people. Don't be the silo person constantly wanting to do it yourself. Create a squad, create a team around you. Lean on your community. This is Very, very important. If you feel that it is too difficult for you to organize such structures, you can always join UU. Reach out to me, send me a DM, and ask me what's the current investment for joining UU. It is much more better to pay someone who specializes in doing it rather than doing it yourself. That's my belief. So if that is of interest to you, reach out to me. And I hope that you have learned a lot in this video. I'll see you next time.